everybody, and it's my honor and pleasure to be with you today. My name is Tomi Ahonen. I am from Finland. I live in Hong Kong. I am on vacation. I'm today in Bangkok, Thailand, speaking to students in India. I think this technology and this time we are living in is absolutely wonderful, allowing this kind of an opportunity. If you see me in the back of, if you're having the video that shows me in the back of, I'm looking like a horrible, a movie monster. Anyway, the lighting is, I'm in a hotel room here in Bangkok. Behind me, there's a thunderstorm happening in Bangkok. So sometimes you might see some flash behind me. That would be lightning. Anyway, so let's start. You should be seeing the title slide of my presentation. And the title slide, and today I'll be talking about the role of digital into the future. How does mobile relate to the digital path? And now we start. Okay, so yes, so we're on the title slide. I'm going to be talking about the future in digital tech, the role of mobile into that future, with also a focus to management students. And business and management and marketing, looking at what is happening also from your careers and how that relates in the mobile space. My own background, I actually am an MBA, so I'm feeling a little bit always like a lost bird when I'm among the engineers in the telecom space. But anyway, I do also have some technical background. But yes, so it's my delight to be here. Let's go to the first slide. And considering about predictions and understanding of the future. Marconi, who invented radio, and if you think about your mobile, I don't mean now FM radio that you might be listening to a cricket game or I mean any radio transmitters and receivers. Your mobile phone actually has several radio units. So not only does it have cellular radio, so that you can make your phone calls, but it also has Wi-Fi, and some of the modern smartphones have as many as 6 separate radio units built into that same device. Marconi, who invented radio, was asked about the proposition, what do you think about the chance of doing broadcasts so people can listen to things like sports, listen to things like music, concerts, or news? And Marconi did not think radio broadcasts are viable. His idea, why he developed radio, was so that he could do communications to ships at sea. Telegraph was invented, and radio wanted to solve how could we do the telegraph without a wire. If there's a ship in trouble, the ship cannot pull the wire as the ship transits the ocean, so how can we get communications to the ship? That was his problem he was trying to solve, and Marconi, who invented radio, could not imagine that this technology could give us radio broadcasts or television broadcasts and that kind of uses. If you look at the early understanding of the telephone was not sold so that we could chat with each other and call our mother on Mother's Day, or your parents could call you at the university, or you can call them and ask for some money. So the first telephones that were installed in America were used as fire alarms in the homes of rich people, so that if there was a fire, they could quickly call the fire department and come save their house, where otherwise, before a telephone, and if your house was on fire, you would have to run to the center of town to the fire department and get the people to come and save you. Same thing with computers. Computers were not designed for us to play with Facebook and do video games and things like that. Original computers were used to crack military spy codes and to calculate ballistics for rockets and for artillery and so forth. Today, of course, computers are most used for video gaming and social media. If you look at the mobile industry, our most used service is SMS text messaging. Text messaging by the people who invented it, and when it was first launched, was not even seen as a viable communication for people to communicate between each other, person to person. That's what P2P means. So it was not viable as a communication person to person. Text messaging was sold to the operators like Bharti Airtel and so forth. It was sold to them so that the operator, the telecoms carrier, can tell you, the customer, hey, you have voicemail. Go listen to voicemail. That was the business case for text messaging. Nobody thought that we, normal consumers, would want to send these clumsy messages from one phone to another. In fact, most early GSM phones did not support the ability to send text messages. The SMS standard was written into GSM, but most early telephones in GSM only supported receiving text messages, not sending them. Nokia was the only manufacturer who, right from the start with GSM, made every phone so that you could also send messages. And the first person-to-person message was sent on a Nokia phone in Finland. Today, 6 billion people on the planet send text messages. And nobody thought that people would ever be doing that. So our understanding of the future can radically change from the early beliefs of what we think we will do and what happens then when humans, when they get to play with these technologies. So let's go to the next slide. So this is an industry overview, and let me just apologize for the word Africa. I was in Nigeria last month, and these slides are, I just forgot to update that word, but yes, we're looking at trends, especially as they relate to the emerging world markets. So next slide. These are the global media end of 2013. When you look at the top line, the blue line on this slide, that's the planet's population. The planet's population at the end of last year hit 7.2 billion people. When we look at mobile, mobile is the first technology ever, the red line. Mobile is the first technology ever that now reaches, by the count of subscriptions, the equivalent status of every person having this technology. In reality, that's not true. You know, in India, most of you will have 2 or 3 SIM cards. So the total number of mobile subscriptions does not mean that every 2-year-old has an iPhone. So in reality, it does, the actual human ownership of mobiles is significantly less than 7.2 billion. But this is the first technology ever that by paid users, the subscription number is now bigger than the total population on the planet. There are now, in August, more mobile phone subscriptions, mobile phone active accounts on the planet than human beings. Not households, not adults, but total human beings. When you look at these other lines, the green line is FM radio. You see the dark green line, that's television, the pink line is the internet, the orange line is landline phones, and the blue line is personal computers. And you put that in context of mobile. Mobile is by far the most wide-reaching technology, not just in India, but on the whole planet. Absolutely anywhere, absolutely everywhere, in every single country, for that part of the population which is economically viable. That you can sell them a newspaper or you can sell them a cup of tea. For that part of the population that is economically viable in every single country, they now have mobile phones, with the exception maybe of North Korea. On the next slide, mobile sheep. It's not just human beings who are being connected to the network. In India, they have now connected sheep. They have monitors that they put on sheep that measure their heartbeat, that measure their adrenaline, and things like that. If a sheep becomes frightened, it sends a message to the shepherd. The only reason in Switzerland that a sheep would be frightened if there is a wolf nearby that is now threatening the herd of sheep. So when the sheep become frightened, the shepherd knows, oh, there's a wolf nearby, and comes and chases the wolf away. In other words, today, we are starting to read the mind of a simple animal like a wolf. I'm sorry, like a sheep. So it is already completely accurate modern technology. We can read the minds of a sheep to the level of when the sheep becomes frightened. Soon we will have mind reading in our mobile phones, but that's probably the iPhone 7 or the iPhone 8. Let's go to the next slide. So this is Honda Virtual Hitchhiker. Honda, the motorcycle maker, has introduced a virtual hitchhiker in Japan. This is a fan club. If you are a fan of Honda motorcycles, then you can have create an avatar for yourself and then bring your avatar to hitchhike somewhere on a Japanese highway. When a real Honda motorcycle, whose owner has registered for the service, when a real Honda motorcycle passes that point, your virtual avatar will be placed hitchhiking on that motorcycle and starts to travel throughout Japan. And then you will be told on your mobile phone where this hitchhiker is going. Traveling on a wonderful Honda Fireblade, traveling up from Tokyo and heading up on an adventure somewhere. 20,000 fans have already signed up, and they have already traveled nearly 2 million kilometers, more than 1 million miles. So we have not only human beings who are using mobile technology, we are connecting our animals also to the mobile technology. Now we have imaginary humans who are traveling within our networks and generating telecoms traffic. Imaginary people generating telecoms traffic. That is the power of our network, our technology. So going to the next slide, you get the $10 iPhone. So I was asked about 9 years ago in Canada to do an analysis for the Canadian industry about the future of the mobile industry and the smartphone and so forth. This is an adaptation of that thinking when I did a recalculation in 2010. So those of you who study technology know Moore's law. The business students probably don't know. This is a standard, this is considered a very solid law, a rule in the technology space that relates to computers. Moore's law says that the total power of computing chips will double in power every 18 months. Every 18 months, every year and a half, your computer will be twice as powerful as it was a year and a half ago. And every 18 months for 20, 30 years, Moore's law has held true. If we now apply, and it means there's a corollary to Moore's law, it means that the same performance in computing can be delivered for half price every 18 months. So if we now take a top line super phone that was sold in year 2010, the best phones on the planet, the iPhone 4 had just come out, or Nokia's flagship model was the Nokia N8. That's when Samsung came out with its Galaxy. That's when BlackBerry's top phone was the BlackBerry Bold. Whichever top phone you want of these, they roughly had the kind of cost without subsidy of about $600 US. For $600, you look at the iPhone 4, you got a 4-inch touchscreen, 3.5-inch touchscreen, 3G, Wi-Fi, GPS, an 8-megapixel, maybe 5-megapixel camera, and a flash. So that kind of smartphone, year 2010, cost $600. Now, when you apply Moore's law for 9 years, it means that by the summer of 2019, the blue part in the bottom of the slide, by the summer of 2019, the cost to make that same phone would only cost approximately $10 US. So the phone that was the super phone, most expensive, won every award on the planet and everyone wanted to have, year 2010, a real smartphone, iPhone 4, with the top specs, By year 2019, if you want to create a clone, a similar phone, it would only cost $10. Now, obviously, Apple will not sell us iPhones for $10. Apple will keep on adding new functions to their iPhones. So probably by 2019, you know, if we have like the iPhone 8, then it'll probably have teleportation and time travel and read our minds. But I mean that if you want to take that basic phone we had, I mean the super phone we had year 2010, Moore's law says by 2019, we can produce that same phone, sell it, including profit, for approximately $10. Now, that was an interesting argument back in year 2010. But if this is true, by 2019, there will be no price differential to make it worthwhile to sell feature phones, to sell basic phones. Every single phone by year 2019 would be a smartphone. So now we have the next slide, please. We see the yellow part added to this slide. If we look at the summer of 2013, in the summer of 2013, my theory suggested, or my analysis suggested, this type of phone, these specs, should be available for consumers for a price of $150 without subsidy. And look at the Nokia Lumia 520. It had a 4-inch touchscreen, 3G, Wi-Fi, GPS, 5-megapixel camera, no flash. It was launched in April, not June, of 2013, and it cost, without subsidy, United States dollars 150. So it is completely consistent with this theory, with this progression. It is very likely that by year 2019, you can buy a simple consumer smartphone with a 3.5-inch screen, 3G, Wi-Fi, GPS, and a nice camera, and it will cost you $10. So this means that the whole planet, all handset manufacturing, everything will become a smartphone. Now, because of the evolution of smartphones, that will almost automatically be an Android-based smartphone. You see those manufacturers already there in India. We have Micromax and Carbon and so forth. From China, you see now Huawei and Lenovo and Xiaomi, and these guys are coming into India to sell their smartphones also at very low cost. So India will be one of the markets where we will see this happening first. But you can expect that the price of a smartphone, the basic specification smartphone, will keep on coming down towards the end of this decade. Now let's go to the next slide. How fast is mobile? Next slide, please. The mobile internet is 720 times faster than the traditional PC-based internet. This isn't a provocative argument by me, but anyway, it is based on these numbers. The Internet Advertising Board measured in Britain in 2011 that the typical person, when they go to an e-commerce site on the internet, such as if you are a PC user and you go to Amazon looking for my book, a typical person who goes to e-commerce and makes a purchase, there will be about 1 month delay between the first time you go to an e-commerce site and when you actually make your purchase. Or the first time that a person goes to an e-commerce site to when they actually make their first purchase, on average, the Internet Advertising Board said that takes about 1 month for PC users. Now, on mobile commerce, the same situation is 1 hour. From the first time that you've never done a mobile commerce transaction before, first time you go to a mobile commerce site, and when you actually decide to make your purchase, the average is only 1 hour. The difference between 1 month and 1 hour means literally 720 times faster. So doing your e-commerce as mobile commerce makes your business run much, much faster. Well, maybe the mobile internet is an exception. I wonder if we have other examples to prove this kind, that mobile is faster than the traditional internet. Let's go to the next slide. Speed of SMS texting. The Great British Mobile Marketing Report of 2012 made comparisons. Look at the third bullet point. 97% of British text messages are read within 5 seconds. This was an Ofcom study in this report. When we compare this, the average email is read within 48 hours. It means that SMS text messaging is 34,000 times faster than email. This is such a huge speed difference. I cannot even understand how can speed be 34,000 times faster. If you walk at that Formula One racetrack, or you put a Formula One race car to run at top speed on the same racetrack, that is only 100 times faster, going from walking to a Formula One race car. I cannot imagine any example of what is 34,000 times faster. But according to these statistics, if a business uses SMS text messaging to communicate or uses email to communicate, the one which uses text messaging is actually 34,000 times faster. So let's go to the next slide. It's not just that that mobile is faster. How addicted are we to mobile? Next slide. In Britain, Halifax Insurance measured and noticed that more than 1 in 4 British people had had a texting collision. You look at the lady here, she's going up the escalator from the London Underground, and she's about to crash because she's not paying attention to where she's going. That's what we've all done. So it's just that this is the level of our focus. In Hong Kong, where I live, they actually have announcements at the end of escalators. Do not look at your smartphone, look where you are walking. Honestly, they say this in Chinese and in English. Do not pay attention to the smartphone when they come to the end of the escalator. Do not look at your mobile phone, look where you are walking. Do not have an accident. So let's go to the next slide. Mobile disrupts everything. We heard from Bessie Lee. She's the CEO of WPP, the world's largest advertising industry company, but WPP China. And so she spoke and talked about Chinese people using the mobile. If you look there, the third bullet point, 2 out of 3 Chinese people have experienced the situation of having a relationship broken up by SMS, text messaging. We've all done it. You guys, I know you've all experienced this, that, boyfriend didn't even call me, he just sent me a text message and now it's over. Look at the next bullet point. 60% would rather give up sex for a month than go without a mobile for a week. This is how addicted we are to mobile. Let's go to the next slide. Please don't misunderstand my presentation. Please don't misunderstand my message. Mobile, the future is not only mobile. Digital media will grow. Digital radio will grow. Movies will be digital. Video gaming will grow. The internet, broadband internet, etc. will grow. There will be other digital opportunities, augmented reality, and so forth. But mobile is the preferred media, and mobile will be at the center of this convergence battle. But I'm not saying that mobile will kill the other industries. Much of this will keep on growing, and all of the media will survive. They will just adjust to this new opportunity and threat coming from mobile. Let's go to the next slide, the latest customer insights. Next slide, Alpha and Omega. We have a time poll around 8 countries around the world, and they said the part here in blue. I'm sorry, 4 people in 10 think this way. Mobile is the first thing they see in the morning when they wake up, and mobile is the last thing we see at night before we fall asleep. This is actually one of my quotes. I said this 10 years ago, and now Time has actually gone and measured it, and they found that, yeah, actually Tomi is right. 4 out of 10 people do this. I've been joking for many, many years around the world. Let's go to the next, but it means, I mean, quite literally, it means that many couples complain that the wife doesn't kiss me at night, she just kisses the mobile phone and then falls asleep. So you know, the wife complains about the husband. Yeah, in the morning he doesn't kiss me, he just goes to his mobile phone and kisses the mobile phone instead. So let's go to the next slide. Texting helps grammar. Interesting study in the Journal of Developmental Psychology goes very much against conventional wisdom. Conventional wisdom suggested that when teenagers are using mobile phones to communicate, they use such sloppy spelling and bad grammar that it is bad for their English skills. But this study, university study, actually showed that texting helps in grammar and does not hurt in spelling. So just interesting finding, and now we need to see if this was an exceptional study. If there's more, they need to be peer reviewed and so forth, so we need other studies like it. But interesting finding, and it took me by surprise. I was totally expecting the opposite result. Let's go to the next slide. This is funny, from England. 12% used during sex. So Zeldy's been doing this study for a while. Latest number is now 12% of British mothers say that they have used their mobile phone while having sex. In America, you see the latest Harris study on the bottom, 10% of American adults say the same. So I mean, that this is so weird. These studies are absolutely crazy. Let's go to the next slide. New Zealand, I think this is perhaps the most insightful observation recently in consumer surveys about technology changing human behavior. This is from New Zealand. Vodafone reported at the Telecom conference in 2012 that 4 out of 10 people in New Zealand who have a mobile phone have settled a bet or found an answer by going into their pocket. So if we are arguing on who won the cricket World Series, whatever championship it is, in 2004, and we argue, what country it was and who won and what, then finally we decide, no, let's not argue, let's just check it on our mobile phone, go to Google or go to Wikipedia, and we can get the answer immediately. For us, for you students, that's normal. For me as a geek talking to technology audiences, this is normal. But if it's 4 out of 10 people completely out of New Zealand, not 4 out of 10 young people, or not 4 out of 10 smartphone users, 38% of the total population has already done this. This means it's our parents, it's our brothers and sisters, it's our uncles and our aunts. It's regular people. They are now thinking that the truth is in my pocket. The mobile phone is a magical truth machine that can tell us what is the real answer. This changes human beings' relationship with data and human relationship with information. So now I'm just very concerned that I am speaking to myself. So let me just check that you are not there desperately waving at me and wanting to make sure that I need to reset or recharge or something. Can someone just confirm that on Skype that you are still hearing me? So very, very good. Okay, thank you. I'll come back. Okay, so yes. So we were on New Zealand mobile web. Let's go to the next slide. 79% consume news in China. So this is again from that Time poll. Very interesting. This is especially relevant for anyone working in the news media space. Almost 80%, so 4 out of 5 people in China consume news on their mobile phones. Most of the news is branded news. So this is not some cheap blog site or Twitter feed. This is branded news. So the biggest newspapers in China have created their mobile websites and their mobile services and their mobile apps, and especially using SMS and MMS, delivering news headlines, branded, paid, premium content, selling news to their customers, and making a huge amount of extra money to the newspaper industry and the news industry. Let's go to the next slide. This brings us to premium SMS. So premium SMS is like, for example, you voting on television. Very popular in India that you use your mobile phone to send text votes to a television show. But this is things like buying ringing tones. This is things like receiving coupons and offers on mobile phones, getting your news updates, getting your horoscope quotes, getting your cricket scores, the kind of things that we use with mobile phones as a media. So SMS, premium SMS in Juniper reported last year, premium SMS was worth $55 billion US dollars globally. And this number, I know for you students, unless you are a media student, this number is meaningless to you. You have no context of what is 55 billion. So let me put it in context. If you take all music sold on the planet, and this is everything from Katy Perry to Rihanna to the Rolling Stones to Beethoven to every single India music artist that exists. Every single musician, all of their sales, every single music sales on the planet, that music business is only worth $20 billion globally. So let's take movies, you know, Bollywood. Also add Hollywood and take everything of Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie and all of our movie stars from Hollywood, and then add all of those crazy African movies from Nollywood in Nigeria, and then add all of the Chinese movies and Russian movies and all movies combined around the world, the box office revenues of the movie industry is $30 billion. Recording industry is 100 years old. Cinema industry is 120 years old. We take these old industries and we add them together. The total music industry and the total movie industry combined, and premium SMS is bigger than that. Premium SMS is only 16 years old today. Launched actually October 1 in Finland, the first premium SMS media service. And it's already bigger than music industry and total cinema industry combined. This is my industry. This is mobile. This is how we make money. This is how powerful we are. And this is why everyone else wants to come into mobile. Let's go to the next slide. What do we do with our mobile phone? We look at, this is not young people, this is not just India, this is not just Japan, this is not just Finland. Global average, not just smartphone users, all users on average look at their mobile phone 150 times per day. You see on this chart to the right is the breakup of what we do, how many times we use it. On average, this is the average use. So some people will do one thing much more than the other. But yes, messaging and alarm clock and calendar and music and social media and so forth and so forth. So there is no other media ever that has received this type of attention. For every waking hour that we are awake, you look at your mobile phone once every 6.5 minutes. That is how addicted we are to mobile. Let's go to the next slide. And we are now starting to look at grand convergence. I've been talking about this industry, this term, grand convergence, now for many years, and I've been counting how many industries will come here. I have so far discovered 17 industries that will devour each other. But I want to start with a thought about the travel industry. Next slide. Train operators did not see airplanes as a threat to the travel industry. Train operators were some of the richest people on the planet 150 years ago. 100 years ago, we started to get first air travel. And train operators totally didn't, they thought these flimsy things in the air that always crashed and only could travel, carry 2 passengers or 4 passengers, little biplanes that flew slowly somewhere in troubled air. They didn't see them in any way a threat to themselves. And today, obviously, for most long-distance travel, not in India, but in much of the rest of the world, most of the trains are no longer used for humans. They're used only to travel goods, cargo, but humans tend to travel by airplane. And even in India, obviously, there's huge growth in the airline industry. So now let's take a look at the next slide, and this is grand convergence. So here we have 17 industries that I believe every one of these industries will become more or less completely digital. This is not every industry on the planet. So for example, medicine is not here. We need a physical doctor to look at us, and we need physical medicine to eat. So just having our medical app on our smartphone cannot replace a hospital and an operation room and a doctor and the medicine and so forth. So farming is not here. Forest industry is not here. Fishing is not here. Travel industry is not here. But these 17 industries, I believe all of them either already are digital, like social media or gaming and virtual and so forth, or they will become fully digital, such as insurance, banking, credit cards, and so forth. You notice that each one of these arrows is the same length, but the arrows have a different thickness. The thickness of the arrow tells you how big the industry is. So if you look at on the right of the screen, you have telecoms. Telecoms is roughly $1.5 trillion, $1,500 billion. Then when we look here down on the bottom of the screen, you have music. I just told you a moment ago, music is about $20 billion. So the wider, the thicker the arrow, the bigger the industry. Now I'm going to move these arrows into that circle, the blue line, to show how much of that industry has already migrated into mobile. So next slide, please. So this is now the picture of the grand convergence with the percentages. So you can see here that those arrows which have gone very far, I've been able to calculate a percentage of roughly how much of that industry has migrated into mobile. Some of the arrows which have not moved much at all, they've moved so little we don't even have a valid measure of how much they are in mobile yet. Or their percentage is so tiny it's not worth mentioning. But anyway, you look here that some of the industries, you look at on the left, the camera industry, you look at on the right, the telecoms industry, some of these industries have managed this migration almost completely. Then take a look at the bottom left corner of this slide, and you see the aggregate value of these 17 industries in 2013 when they are combined is $6 trillion US. 6,000 billion US dollars. 6 trillion US dollars. When we take this contest, this slide, this page, and we consider these industries combined in this race, this is the world's largest industry. They're still separate industries. They haven't merged yet. So like you can see, insurance and banking and credit cards, print, advertising, they're only starting their journey into here. But this will be something in the magnitude of $6 trillion when this mix-up has been completed. So let's take a look at the next slide. I want to show a little bit about telecoms. Notice if you call anyone on the planet on a random telephone number, in 85% of the time, that telephone number rings on a mobile phone, not on a fixed landline phone. But let's take a look what telecoms is doing to another industry here. Let's take a look at cameras. So next slide, please. Look at the red line, cameras and telecoms. 15 years ago, if in the year 1999, you went and you talked to the camera people, like Canon, like Nikon, like Minolta, or Kodak, or Polaroid, you talked to the camera people and said, hey guys, do you see any threat from telecoms coming into your industry? They would look at you like you had somehow, two heads. You're completely an alien of this planet. There was absolutely no way that the telephone people, where most telephones were landline phones, how could you possibly have a camera on a telephone? That it was just a bizarre idea, completely beyond their understanding. Similarly, if you go in 1999 and you look at all the handset manufacturers, you look at Motorola, you look at Nokia, you look at Sony, you look at Ericsson, you look at Samsung, every one of those guys who made mobile phones year 1999, not one of them had a camera on their mobile phone. Not one of them. It didn't exist. The camera phone did not exist. None of them were even promising their investors that they were going to launch a camera phone. The world's first camera phone came from Japan by Sharp at the end of year 2000. It was laughed at by the camera industry in Japan. They completely laughed at it and said, this is a ridiculous idea. But today, these two industries have clashed. So let's go to the next slide. The golden age of pictures. The camera industry has had a very, very consistent rate of growth. Every year, every decade since the birth of the camera. The camera is about 160, almost 170 years old. For the first 150 years, the camera industry doubled per decade. So the total number of cameras that the planet had in year 1940 would double by year 1950. And then the planet's camera population from 1950 to 1960 would again double. And from 1960 to 1970, the camera population again doubled. Rather solid growth rate, doubling every 10 years. From year 2000 to 2010, the usage of photography exploded. The user base didn't double or grow threefold or fourfold. The user base grew by 10, a factor of 10. 10 times more cameras in use year 2010 than year 2000. This was the golden age of pictures. This was absolutely the time when the planet fell in love with photography. At the start of the decade, most people had never touched a camera. At the end of the decade, most people had access to a camera. At the start of this golden age of pictures, the six giants of the camera industry were, in no particular order, Canon, Minolta, Nikon, Konica, Kodak, and Polaroid. The six giants of the camera industry: Canon, Minolta, Nikon, Konica, Kodak, and Polaroid. Next slide, please. Look what happened. Today, the world's most used camera brand is Nokia. Today, the world's best-selling camera brand is Samsung. Minolta and Konica have quit the camera business during the golden age of pictures. Kodak has gone bankrupt. Polaroid went bankrupt twice. Nikon CEO just a couple of months ago was talking about they might be introducing a smartphone. This was the golden age of pictures. At the start of the decade, Nokia did not even talk about wanting to introduce a camera phone. Samsung did not even suggest they would be making camera phones. And today, Nokia is the most used camera on the planet. Samsung is the best-selling camera on the planet, on mobile phones. This is what I mean with digital convergence. Let's go to the next slide. So that was telecoms and camera. Now look at computers and music. If you go to year 1998, there was absolutely no convergence in music and computers. Today, the world's best-selling music store and the best-selling standalone music player come from a computer manufacturer, Apple. The Apple company, corporate name used to be Apple Computer, and they became the world's biggest music store. There was absolutely no synergy between computers and music. One was an office tool, one was a consumer electronics thing, and why would a computer company even start a music store? But now the iPod and the iTunes is a huge part of Apple's business. Or then look at the next slide. Internet and mapping. Again, I mean, there's absolutely no overlap with this, but suddenly Google provides all of these maps for us, the internet guys. So let's go to the next slide. Look at banking. What is banking doing in the mobile space? The country where mobile banking has been the furthest adopted by the whole economy is Kenya. Let's go to the next slide. The very latest statistics just now out, this was in Coast Week, 31st of July, just a couple of weeks ago. Mobile banking today accounts for 51% of Kenya's total GDP. And mobile banking is only 6 years old in Kenya. In 6 years, from zero to half of Kenya's total economic output is processed through mobile payments. So this is how amazing mobile can be, how rapidly it can disrupt an industry, and how amazing it is in terms of delivering opportunities. Let's go to the next slide. Credit cards. Again, we go back to Africa. Next slide. So this is one of the rivals there in Kenya. This is Airtel Money. They've partnered with Standard Chartered Bank and MasterCard to create the world's first virtual credit card on mobile. If you, many people in India don't have bank accounts and don't have credit cards, if you don't have a credit card, but you would like to buy my book on Amazon, you need a credit card. So if you don't have a credit card, in Kenya, all you do is you take out your mobile phone, you go to if it's on Airtel, one of the operators in India, and you go to Airtel's, you have an Airtel mobile phone number, you go to their mobile payments service part and order yourself a virtual credit card. You notice that, oh, Tomi's book costs 29 pounds, so you need some shipping to India, so let's say it's 35 pounds, and so you order a credit card for yourself, a virtual credit card for 35 British pounds. And they charge that from your mobile phone, your prepaid account. You need to buy some top-ups to pay up the amount. And then they issue you a one-time unique 16-digit code combination with the activation code, the security code, and a virtual name and expiration date. When you enter those 16 digits, Amazon recognizes it's a MasterCard and it's completely valid. This is all sent to you by SMS, text message, to your mobile phone. So, one-time use virtual credit cards now available on MasterCard, pioneered in Africa through mobile. This is the power of mobile. Let's go to the next slide. Marketing research. Let's to the next slide. WPP, as I mentioned, is the world's largest advertising company. So this is, they own advertising brands like Ogilvy and Young and Rubicam and like lots of these advertising brands, advertising agency brands. Anyway, WPP CEO Sir Martin Sorrell said, remember, he's the head of the world's largest advertising empire. Our competitors are not the other advertisers, Omnicom, IPG, Publicis. Our competitors now are Nielsen and GfK, the data companies. The world's largest advertiser doesn't think that his primary competition is other advertising companies. He thinks the competition to advertising is the people who do market research, data mining of consumers is the threat to advertisers. Here is a CEO, remember that example of trains and airplanes. Here is a CEO who looks at his industry and sees the airplane as a threat to trains. But what an amazing thought. So actually, if you've been looking what excuse me, if you look what WPP has been doing recently, excuse me, they have been buying data mining companies and other data companies. So yes, let's go to the next slide. What happens? That was only individual players. What if you get someone who builds on several of these arrows? What if you were to build a service that takes banking and advertising and social media and mixes them up? Let's take a look at South Korea. Look at the next slide, and this is Coca-Cola. Coca-Cola introduced Coke Play as a game in South Korea. You earn Coca-Cola Coke Play points as loyalty points whenever you buy Coca-Cola products, of course. So if you buy a Coca-Cola or a Sprite or a Coke Light or whatever, then you get Coke Play points. You could also get Coke Play points if you saw Coca-Cola advertising. So there's a QR code and you go and you scan the QR code and you get points. or you see them on the web, and you enter your mobile phone, and they are again number, and you are added. The points are added to your account, and so forth. But look at this picture, and part in red. You could also win Coke Play points by dancing. Just by dancing. And if your dance is popular, you get enough points, you can get free Coca-Cola as a reward of dancing well. They had almost 1 million people in South Korea participating, dancing. South Korea only has a population of 40 million people. So this is a huge number. But just massive campaign where they now are creating an artificial currency, virtual currency, where you can, out of loyalty points and out of dancing, and it's not just that you can buy Coca-Cola products with these points. You can buy airtime. So imagine going to Bharti Airtel and your minutes are up and you need to call your girlfriend, and you can just go and dance for 10 minutes, and now you get extra minutes that you can talk to your girlfriend. That's what this is. Next slide. So when we look at we're back to grand convergence. So when we look at these industries, then the total value is $6 trillion. This is the biggest race that ever existed. But this is only the beginning. Next slide. What happens now from a business point of view? Let's take a look at not just mobile as in advertising, but let's now look at mobile using in the full marketing mix. So next slide, please. We love Amazon advertising. So if you go to Amazon and you look, this is a picture of one of my books, Mobile as Seventh of the Mass Media. If you go to the Amazon web link and look at this page, on the bottom of the page, you all know this, on the bottom of the page, there is that link showing people who bought this book. They also bought Chetan Sharma's book, Mobile Advertising. They also bought Ajit Jalkar's book, Mobile Web 2.0, and so forth. So that these kind of things, you know, the other recommendations on the bottom, we love them. We want to see what other books are there like this, or if we're buying a DVD, what other DVDs are there like the ones that you like, and so forth. Those are actually advertising. If you click on that link, what you did, you asked for, oh, I'm sorry, then there is the button, Amazon has the button which says, would you like more recommendations like this? If you click on that link, if you click on the link, give me more recommendation, other books like this, you are now asking for more advertising. You are asking for more advertising. This is something that most of the advertising people thought would be impossible to achieve. People hate advertising so much, they try to avoid advertising. It's not possible to make advertising beloved so much that we consumers start to request to receive more advertising. But Amazon has managed to do it. The Amazon recommendation engine is advertising. And it generates 30%, 30% of Amazon's total business comes from the recommendation engine, from their advertising. It's possible to make advertising so good that we actually like it and we want more of it. When I run my workshops around the world for the advertising industry, then this is one of the examples I use to them and say, come on, if a geeky company, technology company like Amazon can do this, then you creative guys here in the advertising industry, come on guys, you are certainly able to do this for your brands. So let's go to the next slide. We have statistics from the MMA. The MMA is the Mobile Marketing Association. The MMA surveyed American consumers, and they found that 49% of American consumers have already changed their mind while they were inside the store ready to buy. But they found something on their mobile phone and they decided to not buy what they intended to buy. Usually they walk out of the store and they go to a competitor store and buy it there, or they buy it online. It's cheaper online, etc. But this is a radical, shocking statistic for anyone in retail, that consumers are running away from retail stores and mobile is driving them to their competitors. Take a look at the next slide. This is what's happening in France. So this is Carrefour, France's largest grocery store. Carrefour has deployed a mobile shopping app to help customers do shopping. So you can create your shopping list that, oh, today I need to buy some milk, and I need to buy some cornflakes, and I need to buy some Pepsi, and put that on your shopping list, and then you go to the store and it will remind you what you need to buy. But here is the clever bit. You look at the third bullet point. The clever bit is that if you tell Carrefour which store you're going to with that shopping list, it will rearrange your shopping list into the perfect order and tell you which aisle in the store you need to go. So Tomi, go to aisle 2, that's where you will find cornflakes, then go to aisle 6 and pick up the Pepsi, and then on your way back home back to the cash register, go to aisle 11 and you can take up the milk at aisle 11. And make my shopping much more efficient and faster in the store. So these are the kind of things that retail is already doing to help their customers. Let's go to the next place. Those of you who are in marketing, those of you who are in business studies know, of course, about Kotler and the 4 Ps. And I'm so old, I only learned the Kotler version. Apparently, there's also a SIVA model, so the same or an adaptation of that. So instead of product, price, place, and promotion, they talk about solution, information, value, and access. But anyway, my point is, for anyone in business, or anywhere where you have a customer interaction, where your customer interacts with you, your company, your brand, at every one of those points you can introduce mobile, and it can not only help you in your promotion, your advertising, but it can also help you in your product design, in your pricing, in your distribution, and so forth. So let me show you a couple of examples of what is happening around the world. Next slide. We can support the supply chain. Next slide. Hershey's in Africa is doing this with the Hershey Cocoa Link. They're helping farmers on when to irrigate and when to cut their farm and what is the weather like and so forth. Hershey, through SMS, and helping almost 1 million farmers, 750,000 farmers in Africa. Farmers are increasing their cocoa yields by 15 to 40%, 40. From 15 to 40%. That is almost pure profit for the farmer. Increasing yield. It's the same year, it's the same job, it's the same farm. You have to cut the same field anyway to get the plants out of it, but your yield goes up with the help of a couple of text messages from Hershey. Next slide. How about pre-purchase trials? And let's take a look at the next slide. This comes from France. The French online eyeglasses and sunglasses store, Direct Optic, has introduced a virtual augmented reality trialing of their eyewear. So if you want to do these sunglasses look cool on you, you can upload your photo onto their site and then experiment which kind of glasses fit your face the best. Look at the last bullet point. 45% more revenue by doing virtual trials with mobile. Next slide, please. How about the contract? Can we help here with the mobile phone? Interesting example comes from Spain. Next slide. Spain invented the SMS text messaging based signature. They already do it, for example, in Turkey. Several countries are now doing this, so the laws have to be changed to make this legally binding. But Spain was the first country that they changed the contract law so that if both parties agree that this contract may be executed by these two people by sending a text message to each other to this and this phone number by this and this person from this and this phone number, the contract is now legally binding. We don't have to sign anymore. We can just send a text message and the contract is signed. How incredibly powerful is this in business? Let's go to and how much faster is this in business? Let's go to the next slide. How about fulfillment? I'm sorry I have to go back to Africa, but I was just in Kenya in February. I have so many good examples from Africa, so I'm just like full of Kenya examples, Africa examples. So let's look at fulfillment. So this is mobile government in Kenya. Kenya has gone so far now that it uses the technology USSD. So you can take your mobile phone and all you need to do is dial *271# and then hit the green button, the calling button on your mobile phone. When you do that, you get access to the government services. If you need to register your business, you need a marriage license, you need a birth certificate, whatever else, you can do all of that processing on your mobile phone through an interactive service that starts off just *271# in Kenya. So how powerful is this, again, to help the citizens be more enabled and empowered to deal with their government? These kind of things are happening everywhere around the world. Let's take the next slide. Brand extension. So next slide. This is from America. Bud Light, the beer brand. Bud Light offers an application for second screen watching of television. So here we have Kimi Räikkönen driving his Lotus last year, and there's Felipe Massa in the Ferrari in the other picture, and Kimi, of course, took Felipe's seat. So these are like both of Kimi's cars. I'm from Finland, and I'm a big Formula One fan, so I have to show a little bit of Formula One cars always in my presentations. But anyway, the Bud Light app is so that while you are watching the sporting event, at the same time, the Bud Light app is your friend watching the same sporting event. And it will interact with you. So who do you think, at how many laps will Kimi go before he changes his tires? And do you think that he will pass, Alonso at the pit stop, and so forth? So constantly interacting with you while watching the same game. You want to watch the cricket game, or you want to watch the soccer game, or you want to watch, tennis or whatever. Bud Light app will be there on your smartphone watching the same game simultaneously. Next slide, please. So we can do repurchase reminders. Example from South Africa. Next slide. This is from South Africa. The Omo brand detergent. When they are sending SMS reminders to their customers, their repurchase rate is up by 60%. 60%. 60%. Massive increase in their business when their repurchases go up by 60%. Just by sending an SMS reminder 2 weeks before the detergent runs out, that now might be about the right time for you to go and get your next Omo detergent box. Let's go to the next slide. This is my dear friend Jonathan Jonathan McDonald. He teaches us, he's a marketing advertising specialist. He teaches that brands need to build an army of fanatics. That is what you need to do. You need to build an army of fanatics. A very powerful tool for you to engage with those customers at every stage of that journey is mobile. Build an army of fanatics. Get some of your, not every one of your consumers is going to be a fanatic, but every single brand has some fanatics out there. Build an army of fanatics and enable them and empower them and let them help you sell your products even better. Let's go to the next slide. So after this, we get now to big data, the digital footprint, and how this impacts privacy. Next slide. So my dear friend Alan Moore co-wrote my fourth book with me, Communities Dominates Brands. This is Alan Moore here in this picture. Alan Moore is the guy who coined this term, mobile user data is the new black gold for the 21st century. So black gold, oil is the current black gold. Originally, people got rich by digging for gold. And if you found gold, found a big nugget of gold, suddenly you would be very rich. Next came black gold, oil, like in Saudi Arabia, and they just start pumping this stuff out, and suddenly if you own an oil field, you're rich. So Alan says the next black gold, the new black gold, this is this mobile user data that we are now collecting. Remember what the CEO of WPP said. That's why he wants the data mining companies, because here is where the money is in the future. Go to the next slide. What is the value of new black gold? There's a company from Spain called Custodian. They also operate in England. They told us that at Oxford in 2009, they're the first company to measure the value of black gold, and they said it is 2.5 trillion US dollars. So when our big grand convergence contest is worth $6 trillion, here is another $2.5 trillion we are tossing on top of that. Those of you who are considering working in the car industry, working in, let's say, with Tata Cars or with Jaguar or whatever in the car industry, the total global car industry is only worth $1 trillion. The earlier picture I showed you already has $6 trillion in it, and here we have another $2.5 trillion more coming into the mobile space. This is the new black gold. Go to the next slide. I'm sorry, oh, interesting here. Yeah, the yellow point here on the bottom. Imagine if Google was only able to take half of this money, 1.25 trillion. Google would be making so much money that they could go and talk to Airtel and to Vodafone and to Axiata and to Telenor and to China Mobile and to AT&T and every other operator around the world and buy every minute of airtime. Not at a discount. They could buy consumer price, retail price of every minute of airtime, give it to us for free. Give it to us for free, and still Google would make 50% profit on that deal if Google is only able to take half of this value. This is why Google wants to do all of this, organize all of that data around the world and make us, give us our maps and give us our search and give Android for free and so forth. This is what they are after. This is their goal. They want to mine this fortune. So let's go to the next slide. What can we do with this? There's an American company called Signify that is now already able to give you a credit score for a bank or credit card application or insurance application and so forth, not based on what you talk about, not listening to your phone call, not reading your messages or going to your Facebook page looking at who have you liked. They can give you a credit score based on how you make your telephone calls. They monitor a couple of months of your telephone behavior, and they can see, are you an honest, nice person with a steady job who behaves like a normal person, or are you unemployed and desperate to get some money and trying to borrow money and running away from creditors and avoiding phone calls and so forth. They have such a good algorithm, they can give you a credit score based just on how you used your telephone, not snooping in and listening to the phone calls and not reading your messages. Just on how you behave on your mobile phone, and they can give you a credit score. This has already launched in Brazil. So, going to the next slide, who's that chick? So here we go, James Bond again. So in Finland, if you see someone and their car, you see the license plate, all you need to do is take your mobile phone, take a picture of the license plate, and 1 minute later you will know who owns that car. It will come to your mobile phone from the national car registration information. Who is the owner of the car? Who's the insurance company? Etc. and so forth. Isn't that amazing? You just take a picture of the license plate. We have to have this for accidents, obviously. So we have to know who owns the car anyway. It's a open database anyone can access on the internet. But now all you need to take a picture of the license plate and you will find this information. So next slide. Barbarians at the gate. So I was talking about digital industries, but how about other who are also coming to our industry? So you remember, next slide, please. So this is the one with the blue in the circle, US 1.5 trillion. This picture, the journey, is worth $6 trillion. But what is inside the circle is only worth $1.5 trillion today. Of our total travel, only 25% of this journey has been completed. You have not missed mobile. The golden age of mobile is only starting now and will last for the next 2 decades. This is the great time to be in mobile. Go to the next slide, please. I'm sorry, this is just a blank slide. I'm sorry, one more slide. So this should be a totally empty page. So now look at what other companies are saying in mobile. The world's largest PC maker has just said they regret selling their smartphone business. They're coming back to smartphones. The world's largest laptop maker says that they have just bought Motorola smartphones from Google. The world's largest chip maker is introducing a smartphone operating system. The world's largest, who's coming next? Oh yes, the world's largest software maker just bought the handset business from Nokia. So they are very eager into mobile. The world's largest internet company is teaching all of its customers to do mobile first. The world's largest social media company is making its profits on mobile. The world's largest video gaming company says that all the big revenues in video gaming are made through mobile. Warner Music said that all of the music will be wireless, will be mobile. The world's largest broadcaster says that all television content and all radio content will be available on mobile. The world's largest newspaper guild says that it's difficult to make money on the internet, but it is easy to make money on mobile. The world's largest home entertainment company, electronics company, makes its profits on mobile. The world's largest advertiser says that the biggest growth in advertising is in mobile, and the world's largest advertiser, Coca-Cola, just introduced a mobile payment solution in Korea. Look how many giant global brands are on this page. They're not in one industry. They're all from different industries, and they are all singing the same song. These are the leaders of their industry, and they're all saying, my industry is also going into mobile. My industry is also going into mobile. Mobile will change my industry too. Now, please click on the slide again. So now we look at the world's 4th largest bank. They say that they are a mobile first bank. How about the world's largest credit card provider? They say that the future of payments is mobile. The world's largest department store used to have a rule that you are not allowed to use a camera phone inside the department store. They have flipped it. Today, they encourage their customers to use a smartphone, a camera phone inside the store. The world's largest tool store, the world's largest coffee shop chain, the world's largest technology company makes its profits on mobile. And the world's most profitable company makes its profits, majority of its profits on mobile. These are 20 different industry leaders from 20 different industry sectors. 20 different industry leaders from 20 different industry sectors. Every one of them agrees that their industry will be completely transformed because of mobile. There's never been this kind of a moment in history where so many different industries agree that their future is mobile. 20 different industry leaders. So this is the excitement, what is happening in mobile. Now, I'm aware that I think that I'm already over my time. So please click on the next slide. So we have grand convergence we've looked at. So please, next slide. Notice that at the edge now on the slide, these big, thick orange arrows, all of these are the barbarians at the gate. They are also coming into mobile. Education, retail, travel, government, cars, restaurants, they're all coming into our race as well. Next slide, please. I have the concept of the mobile phone being a Swiss Army knife. So that just like a Swiss Army knife has a screwdriver and it has a tweezers and it has a magnifying glass, etc. The mobile phone has 15 different aspects. So all of these aspects are here on this slide. You will have these slides. They will be provided for you. You can have access to them. So please take a look at these. There are a couple of examples more, but we are running out of time, and I do want to be able to take some questions. So I will just stop here and then let us take questions. So I will stop advancing the presentation. I will come back to however this works now with Q&A.
Can you hear me, Tommy? Hello?
Yes. So can you hear me? Are we there?
Yes, we can hear you. I think you need to enable your speakers.
I think they are now enabled. I can hear you, but I cannot see anything. Am I supposed to see something, or just taking questions sound? Can you see me?
Yes. Please let me know if you hear an echo of sorts, and so that we don't have much feedback running. I'll try to enable the camera. Yeah, I'll try to enable the camera so that you can see the person who's asking the questions. So let's see. That's me. Hello. So if anyone has questions, they can kindly walk down here and address the question in person. Yes, we have one. Let me see if I can. Oh, brilliant. Okay.
Hello, Tommy.
Hello.
Yeah, great to hear about the convergence theory. I have one question regarding the context of Indian telecom industries, that they are working at very cheap data rates. So will they able to continue with this cost structure? And what could be the opportunities for them in this current trend of mobile economy, you can say?
Excellent question. So one of the nice things about especially India's leadership in the very low-cost telecom services, but we see the same thing in very many parts of the emerging world, is that the mobile telecoms operators have been able to innovate and develop and work at very low cost structures. So if you go to America, if you go to England, you go to Germany or Finland or Japan, you will find that the telecom operators have a huge amount of staff, for example, at their calling center and things like this. They operator stores and things like this that all add cost. So part of it is human resource costs. Part of it is a very efficient construction of the network, and we will have an evolution of the mobile networks, cellular, going into ever more efficient needs. India is in the process of rolling out and deploying 3G. And we will go to 4G, and we will have 5G. So by the Japanese Olympics, they expect to prototype 5G. So we will just keep on getting faster networks and more efficient networks and so forth. But when we think about India, there are a couple of very good opportunities that come out of here. One of them is the innovation of using the resources so efficiently. You were the first country that made a business out of missed calls. So you make a missed call to your mother, or your girlfriend or someone, so you just call them and they don't answer. They see your phone number, you didn't answer, right? That is called a missed call. And we have all kind of signaling that, oh, if I make 3 missed calls, then you need to call me, but if I make 2 missed calls, everything's fine, and so forth. But now, in India, you have lots of marketing campaigns built around missed call. So Wheel, the detergent brand, for example, did one of those. And it is a missed call campaign, so it actually generates more money for the telecoms operators out of some of the resources they have, which traditionally were not used to make money. So this is one of the areas where India is very efficient at this. Now, they are operating on very thin margins as it is. This is a capital-intensive industry, and you have a lot of competition in India. So it's going to be a rough place to compete, but the companies tend to be profitable. The big ones tend to be profitable in all of the major parts of the emerging world. So I am confident that the business is viable.
We have one other question.
Hi, so I have a question. In the grand convergence theory, do you think there will be acquisitions, or will the mobile companies develop their own, technology?
Excellent question. Excellent question. First, I think that there will be a large amount of mergers, acquisitions across the industry. So looking at Microsoft buying Nokia's handset business is a perfect example. I mean, Microsoft, a software company, buying pure hardware out of Nokia. Nokia, a telecoms company, selling its brand, its main product, its handset business. So these kind of things will happen a lot. Some of that opportunity in that 6 trillion will be lost because companies will buy each other and then they will fire half of the staff and they will use all kinds of synergies, corporate synergies, to slim down the combined organization. But a lot of new opportunities will be built by the increasing opportunities that come out of there. Here, I think the mobile telecoms operators are the single strongest player entering this race. But mobile telecoms operators are also the weakest at exploiting their strengths, because telecoms operators traditionally have been so strongly an engineering-led industry. They have to build robust engineering solutions to make sure our telephone calls penetrate inside the walls of buildings but still don't give us cancer. So, I mean, it takes really a lot of engineering work to make a cellular network work. So very engineering-oriented industry. They are not good at innovating, at customer service, at exploring new business opportunities, and so forth. Much of the innovation will probably come from small players. So we see, for example, Skype, what it's doing to the telecoms business. Or you look at Uber, what it's doing to the taxi business. Or you look at M-Pesa, what it is doing for money, and so forth. Rovio, Angry Birds, doing to the video gaming industry, and so forth. So that we see the newcomers, very small, agile companies that tend to do much of the innovation and development and the new stuff. But the operators have deep pockets. They will probably buy themselves into any major opportunity anyway, just like Microsoft is doing now, or Apple is doing, and so forth. And some of the really rich companies in this game will have plenty of opportunity. If they fail themselves by creating it, they will be able to buy it.
Hello, sir. Sir, I have a question. Like mobile applications like WhatsApp, Hike, and Google Maps. What is the source of revenue? Is it only data mining or any other things?
Excellent question. Mobile actually introduces new opportunities to make money, which didn't exist in the internet economy and which didn't exist in previous media, like the print media, television media, and so forth. So we've been looking at one of the most promising in the apps space is in-app purchases. In-app purchases. So if you are developing apps, don't build your model on advertising. Don't build your model on trying to get money that people pay to download your app. If at all possible, build your model around in-app purchases. That's where most of the current money is being made, in the apps space. But that's not the only way. There are very many other ways that we can exploit the opportunities and discover new ways to take advantage of this opportunity. So that this is the richest opportunity ever to be creative in any industry. This is richer, our opportunity in mobile today is richer than what the internet was at its strongest period of creativity. This is much richer opportunity than the garage industry that came out of Silicon Valley when the PC, the personal computer, was invented. So this is the richest point in time for creativity. And so we will have plenty of other ways to make money. It doesn't mean that we don't want to make money also the old-fashioned way. So if you have a good product that customers really want and you are exclusive and you can get your customers to really pay for it, then please do collect that money. Or if you have a good media audience and you can make some advertising on revenue on it, then do that as well.
Hello, sir. A continuation on the same question just asked previously about WhatsApp and Viber. And so WhatsApp is now like almost uh, making the messages go out, and Viber is making the calls go out. So how is it going to affect the actual service providers like Airtel or whichever that they're going to, like we use Wi-Fi for communication right now. We don't use the actual internet packages. So how is it going to affect what is going to happen?
Excellent question, and this is one aspect of the mobile telecoms industry which very many outsiders see alarming and see as sudden and see as shocking. So WhatsApp and Viber and Skype and BBM and all of these different OTT services disrupting the messaging and the voice revenues. In reality, the mobile operators have seen this coming for 10 years. So the actual business models that we calculated 10, 15 years ago, they all assumed that by now today, voice calls and text messages will be almost free. So the operators have had actually 5 bonus years of good years of revenues out of their traditional business, which was supposed to be wiped out by now. So one of the operator answers is they will try to fight back with prices and with bundles. So they will bundle a lot of free minutes for you if you pay this price, or they'll give you an extra bonus if you top up with this, and so forth. The next thing they also do is they're launching some of their own OTT services, and in some cases they also, some of the players are buying these services. So getting the competitor out of the market, or becoming that if someone's going to cannibalize me, it's going to be me who cannibalizes me, with that philosophy. But definitely mobile phone calls, telephone calls on mobile networks used to have a profit margin of approximately 50% at the start of the last decade. 50% profit. Text messaging, SMS text messaging, 3-4 years ago, had 90% profit margin. 90% profit. So there's a lot of room if someone has a 90% profit for someone else to come and offer a similar service for much less. So the opportunity, the big fat profit times are gone. Operators are cutting the prices to try to fight back, and so this will all be good for us consumers. But it means that they need to now build newer ways on how do we capitalize on the future and how do we still keep some of that money. Remember, if you are using Viber, if you are using WhatsApp, etc., you tend to need a 3G connection or a 4G connection or a Wi-Fi connection. If you have your 3G or 4G connection, you're probably paying extra for it. Also, most people don't have smartphones in India. So all of those people who don't have smartphones or don't have that kind of capability, but they still need to make calls and send messages, they will still give plenty of minutes and plenty of messages to the operators for many years to come. Even though the shift is now rapid, shifting into smartphones, but there's still a long way to go before that is gone. But Netherlands was the first country, I think it was 3 years ago in the spring, first country or 2 years, I think it was 3 years ago in the spring, first country to report that their messaging profits vanished because of WhatsApp. WhatsApp comes from the Netherlands. So they were the first country to actually report this. Then same bad news came from Sweden, same bad news came from Finland. We're seeing it now all around the world, and so forth. So this trend started when enough people had smartphones and they had high-speed connections, whether it's Wi-Fi, whether it's 3G, 4G, and can do these kind of services.
Okay, hey Tommy, I have a quick question for you. Basically, when you were telling us that the mobile network is only now beginning to expand and it will be going on for another 20 years, did you mean that by the end of 20 years it would have reached its peak and it would be going on a decline? Or did you mean that it would still be going on, but it will just reach its peak by the end of 20 years? Are you trying to say that it will be going on a decline by the end of 20 years? If so, why?
No, no one has asked this question yet. Brilliant question. No one has asked that question. Let me put it like this. The next 10 years are the golden age of mobile. Incidentally, Chetan Sharma, the futurist and author, just said that in a white paper, I think like last week. He's a good friend of mine, but this wasn't coordinated. Anyway, but yes, a golden age of mobile. So the big growth for that, the convergence circle, the big growth period is the next 10 years. I see added growth for at least the next decade, the decade from 2030 to 2040 will still be growth in digital convergence. But I think that by year 2030, no one will carry a device that would look like a mobile phone today. So in the next 5, 10, 15 years, the device that we call a mobile phone will disappear. It will be embedded in our teeth. We will have it in our body. It will be in our clothes. It will be somehow, in a contact lens in our eyes or something. But the concept of the mobile phone disappears. But this converged industry, digital converged mobile industry, will continue expanding and growing. And a critical element to it will be the evolution of the mobile operators who now are providing cellular services on 2G and 3G and 4G. So they will then be providing it on 5G and 6G. But that's coming. So that in that sense, I don't see that there will be a decline in this industry, but the growth will slow and it may plateau. I'm sure that in the next decade, something awesome, cool, new will come, which will be the next hot thing. So whether that's nanotechnology, whether that's, whatever, 3D printing, whatever, space exploration, I don't know what, newer things will come. The mobile industry is 35 years old this year. 35 years old, the industry. So newer things will come, but the golden age of the biggest growth and the biggest total profits made in this industry is this next decade. So we're only getting there now.
Hello, Tomi. I think that'll be it. But I'd make sure I'd send more questions to you. I just turned on the camera. I'd make sure I'd send more questions to you via mail if you can kindly answer them so that I can send them back to the persons who asked it in the first place. And also, I understand that you couldn't hear us for the whole duration, but there's an upload coming. Wait for it. But all of your jokes worked, and it was a brilliant presentation. I hope. I just wish we had more time with you. Thanks for accepting our invitation for this engagement, and hope to see more of you later. Thank you.
Let me just mention. If you want to follow me on Twitter, I'm Tomi Ahonen, and my website is tomiahonen.com, from which you can find my blog and my books. One of my books is free, so all of you students will love this. Don't go buy the expensive books, but one of my books is free. So go to my website, it will have the link to my books. It clearly says, this is the free book, go to Lulu, download this free book. So if you want to read 350 pages more of what I just talked about, read the free book. But thank you, and I would love to answer your questions. Thank you.